Alright, I hope you're ready to get psyched, to get pumped, to get stoked, to get jacked, to get swole, because today we're going to be looking at the strength training activity and automatic rep counting on Garmin wearables, including the VivoActive 3, VivoSmart 3, Fenix, and Forerunners. The new strength training activity and automatic rep counting has definitely made Garmin wearables a lot more attractive to those interested in strength training, and they're not just going to be made for endurance athletes anymore. So let's first take a look at how this exactly works on the watch, and I'll be demonstrating this both on a Fenix 5X as well as a VivoActive 3. First, you'll press the start button to start the activity and the first set. Get done with your reps and then press it again on the VivoActive 3 or use the lap button on a Fenix or Forerunner to stop the set and initiate a rest period. From here, you can edit the rep count using the touchscreen on the VivoActive 3 or the up and down keys on the Fenix and Forerunners. After you enter your reps, you will also have the option to enter the weight for the set. Now you may be thinking, I'm not going to press the up key or up arrow 145 times for 145 pounds, and well, you don't have to. Just press and hold the up arrow or up key and it will rapidly go through the weight so you don't have to get carpal tunnel or complain about how many reps you did with your index finger that day. But unfortunately, it doesn't have a weight option for dumbbells made out of cupcakes. Just note that you only have about 3 seconds or so to edit your reps or your weight or will proceed to the rest screen. However, you can go back and edit this by pressing and holding the touchscreen on the VivoActive 3. From here, you'll press the lap button on the Fenix and Forerunners to initiate the next set, and on the VivoActive 3, you'll press the start and stop button. After you're done getting jacked, to stop and save the activity, use the start and stop key on the Fenix and Forerunners, and you'll use the touchscreen on the VivoActive 3. Okay, so now that we have that out of the way, does the automatic rep counting actually work? It does surprisingly well at counting reps for almost all movements as long as you're moving the watch more than 3 inches or so. To ensure the most accuracy, you should try as hard as possible to initiate the next set starting in the starting position of the movement. For instance, if you're doing tricep pushdowns, start in the uppermost position when pressing the lap key and not with your arms low, as it may count that as an extra rep. But overall, I found this to be pretty darn close for the most part, but you may have to add or subtract a rep or two every so often. But in regards to actually identifying the exercises, this is where it can be really good, but not so good as well. For chest exercises, it does really well at flat, decline, and incline bench press, which all get generally identified as just bench press. It also does pretty well for dumbbell presses and dumbbell flies, which are all done while laying down and moving upwards. But as soon as you're in a sitting position, it starts to not really know what's going on. So for any machine press or fly movement where you're moving your arm on a horizontal plane, including stand-and cable flies, most of the time it's not going to identify it at all, and sometimes it thinks you did a sit-up, sometimes you did a shoulder press, and sometimes a lateral raise. It also won't work for push-ups since your wrist is not going to be in motion. For back exercises, it doesn't really do well at pull-downs, which most of the time thinks it's a bench press, most likely due to the up and down motion. I tested this by starting the rep counter before bringing my arms up to the bar as well as on the bar itself, and it produced the exact same results. This is going to be the same for both wide grip and narrow grip pull downs as well as underhand or bicep pull downs. For rows, it does really well for single arm dumbbell rows, but then suffers with machine rows, both close grip and wide grip. Most of the time it can't identify it, but sometimes it may register something way off like a sit-up. Just like push-ups, it won't be able to count reps for pull-ups since your wrist is not going to be in motion. For arms, it'll pretty much be perfect for any bicep movement where your hands start moving at your hips, like curls, whether that's traditional bicep curls, hammer curls, and even machine curls. However, it doesn't like curls where your arms are already above your hips, like horizontal cable curls. Unfortunately, tricep movements didn't do as well. The only 2 movements where I found very consistent results were barbell skull crushers, where you're laying down, and seated double arm dumbbell extensions. It had issues with tricep kickbacks, but also nearly every machine-based tricep exercise like tricep pushdowns, whether you're using a straight handle, 90-degree handle, or rope, and it also did not identify overhead tricep extensions using a rope nor handle, which is interesting considering it identifies skull crushers, which is a very similar movement pattern. Sometimes I thought it was a lateral raise, sometimes a row, and sometimes even a sit-up. For shoulders, it does very well at side lateral raises as well as front lateral raises. It also did well with machine-based shoulder presses, but it did not do so well with dumbbell shoulder presses nor Arnold presses. The only theory I can come up with this is that you can start the rep counter in the starting position of the set with machine presses, where with dumbbell shoulder presses, there is an additional movement of picking up the dumbbells and raising them after you press the rep counter. Almost all shoulder press movements with dumbbells I tested resulted in it identifying it as a bench press, which does make sense since it's a vertical movement. However, cable chest presses in a slightly upward direction, about 30 degrees from horizontal, produced a shoulder press identification nearly every single time. Reverse flies were also never identified properly, as most of the time it thought it was a lateral raise. So everyone hates leg day, or maybe just the day after leg day, but the Garmin actually did really well at counting reps and identifying squats, whether those are going to be air squats or barbell squats. Lunges were also very accurate for counting reps as long as your hands are above your hips, but did think that all lunges were squats. So for both walking and static barbell lunges, both were right on in terms of rep counts. However, dumbbell walking lunges with your hands to your side, as well as no weight walking lunges with your hands on your hips, did not produce an accurate rep count nor identification. And finally, it also does very well at deadlift identification as well as rep count. So to sum it all up, it does really well at bench press, curls, skull crushers, deadlifts, squats, single arm dumbbell rows, as well as lateral raises. But for stuff that it struggled with, that was basically any machine-based chest or tricep movement, nearly any pull-down movement, shoulder presses, and reverse machine flies, and then it has no idea about other movements like kettlebell swings, Russian twists, nor shrugs. So I think the great thing is that it does pretty okay at counting reps, and you should get a fairly accurate number at the end of each set, but just know that we'll only identify maybe a dozen or so movements fairly accurately. But here's the thing, I actually think this is pretty darn good because there are just so many different types of movements out there, and they do provide a very big list of movements to choose from when editing your activity in Garmin Connect. So if you do choose to use a Garmin wearable for strength training, I think this actually does a pretty okay job, but just know going in that you're going to have to probably do a little bit of work after your workout to log everything accurately. So if this video helped you out at all, please hit that like button with all that newfound strength, and it really helps me out and I really appreciate it. Also, subscribe to the channel to get notifications on more fitness technology and gear reviews, as well as tips and tutorials on how to use that fitness technology to help you achieve your fitness goals. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you soon.